and soul as we love together. Young and old, we will sing together, together in one song. Come together, from different worlds we are drawn together. I'm grateful for your kindness. I'm grateful for the love of friends. I'm grateful for the laughter. I'm grateful for the silence. I'm grateful that it never ends. Oh, I'm grateful, 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 grateful. grateful for our caring. I'm grateful for all we know. Grateful, grateful, grateful. I'm so grateful. Grateful, 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 grateful,
Good morning. Ooh, woo, woo. Good morning. Good morning, good morning. Welcome this morning to our beautiful Woodland Chapel service. And Paul and I had a debate today about whether it was a good day or a bad day today. He likes the sun, but I said, but this is a cozy day to go to church and then sit in with a book. So it's all how we see it, isn't it? Yeah, there's the sermon. Sorry, Maur. But anyway, so good to see you all this morning. And is there anyone here for the first time? Ruth. You might have to raise your hand again. And daylight savings time. I thought we were done, but I guess one more year of that. And I hope you all are very careful on the way home. Announcements. On the back are announcements, and you can take them home. There's potluck this morning following the service, and I apologize, I did not get that message, but you're probably just as lucky anyway. So I say, and next week I'll be speaking. I think the topic may be different, but at any rate, I will be here next week speaking, and I hope to see you all. I'd love to be here when we get to. I love to be here every day. And this morning, we have our message by our beloved senior minister, Reverend Maur, and our music by our beloved musicians that I'm so happy when you guys are here, Susan and Mark. Yeah. So, Thanksgiving dinner. I noticed there's sign-ups on the table in the library. So if you'd like to have Thanksgiving dinner with your community here at Woodland Chapel, please just step out and sign up. Put your name down and whatever it is you would like to bring to share. I believe the turkey's provided. Is that true, yes, Reverend Maur? And so you can sign up for side dishes and all that. And there's a silent auction scheduled for January 1st. And January 1st might seem like a little ways off, but it comes really quickly. And you can begin to look around and save up for things that you would like to share for the silent auction. That tends to be really fun. Okay, a visioning meeting is November 20th. For those of you who are free and able to do that, what time is that? Sunday morning after the service. Are we going to have? We'll have about 12:30. We'll have coffee and you can get a snack downstairs, and then come up for a visioning meeting together as a community to look where this community is going in the next year. All right. I would invite our practitioner, Ruth, to...
I would like to interrupt the flow of proceedings for just a moment, if I may. As most of you know who are here, we've been blessed over the years with some fantastic music and some fantastic musicians. And two of them are here today. Yes, Susan Breckall and Mark Pearson. And I hate to say this part, I believe this is the last time you'll be here this year. Is that correct?
Oh.
Possibly. So possibly not? You might come back?
Possibly.
Woo, okay. Well,
Well, I don't think that that's true because I actually have you on the schedule. It's in writing. Yeah. We'll deal about that later.
well, in any case, just to honor the many times you've been here, I have a little presentation for you. Yellow roses symbolize joy and happiness. This bouquet symbolizes the love of my heart for you, Mark. You're welcome.
Yes. You two have been so important in the creation of the delight in this ministry. So, yeah. Thank you. Yes. And we'll talk. So invite our practitioner Ruth to center us this morning in prayer.
You'll have to excuse me, my hearing aids blew up. Take a deep breath with me and gather together. That's the way that we know each person is individually with us. So breath in, and breath out. And the breath out spreads the love that God has from within us, our inner spirit, sending love. And where we send it is everywhere. And so my understanding of God is all there is, and all there is God. Now let us come together in spirit. As I know that my God is everywhere, I know that you are everywhere with me. And thereby I still know that we are one. We are one with the world. But we are one this morning here in our lovely building, in our nice sanctuary, with our garden giving us oxygen. And I know that the purpose today of everyone is to spread love and thanksgiving. And with gratitude, I understand and I pass on to you my knowledge of the inner spirit. And those who speak today know the love of God, present it in their own personal way. And for this I am very grateful. And I release these words into the law of love, the law of God, the law of spirit, always says yes. And so it is. In your program today, you have an affirmation. It's kind of slightly out of order because we didn't get to sing our congregational song.
We're going to do that, so let's just
We
do
are.
our affirmation.
Well, let's say our affirmation because then we'll all be set to go. Today, I intend to invest my time and energy in considering what I really do believe. And then I engage my activities with that inner realization before considering any outside suggestions. I lovingly distract or discard using what I know to be my spiritual truth. And so it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. And now that you have brought us together with the realization of our oneness, I would invite us to stand and sing our congregational song, which is a family song, and here we are gathered together as family. So,
And I know that this is Reverend Don, one of Reverend Don's favorite songs, so let's send him a little extra love this morning as he's at home.
here we are, we're gathered together as a family, and bound as one, lifting up our voices together. Here we are, we're gathered together as a family, and bound as one, lifting up our voices together. We sing of love, we sing of light, we sing of hope, we sing of faith, we sing of light, we sing of love, we sing of light, we sing of hope, we sing of faith, we sing of light. Oh, here we are, all gathered together as a family. We're gathered together and bound as one, lifting up our voices together. Oh, here we are, all gathered together as a family, and bound as one, lifting up our voices together. We sing of love, we sing of light, we sing of hope, we sing of faith, we sing of light, we sing of love, we sing of light, we sing of hope, we sing of faith, we sing of light. Here we are, gathered together as a family.
Give yourselves a hand.
Oh, thank you. That was so pertinent this morning and every morning. And welcome, John, for our inspirational reading this morning.
Good morning. So, whose reality are we living? Whose reality are you living? Is the title of today's reading. And the introduction says, too often we lethargically allow others to have free rent in our heads. And we mindlessly take on their beliefs as our own because we have not invested the time and energy to consider what it is that we really do believe. And Ernest Holmes adds, nearly all people are controlled by outer suggestions and not by inner realizations. The author of today's piece continues, do you ever take time to contemplate that which you embrace as your truth? By truth, I mean your reality, the spiritual and core values that shape and color the lens through which you see yourself and the world. The tendency for most human beings in every culture and religion is to assume that what we were told or taught by the authority figures in our lives, our parents, teachers, preachers, politicians, and media, is the truth. What I have learned is that we can only realize our innate truth to the extent that we are willing to question authority. Just the mere notion of this scares many of us because it means challenging our own self-worth, and perhaps even more so, the wisdom of those we look to for approval and validation for so many years. Standing in the light of our own truth requires authenticity and character. If your life is less than joyful, or even if it is joyful, you may find it worthwhile to explore and, if necessary, challenge the truth you hold as your own. Perhaps it's not even yours. Does it resonate with your soul? If you listen intently, you'll know in a heartbeat whose truth you are living. It's liberating to know it's never too late to excavate a deeper truth, but you will never find it in any other person's opinion of you or the world, because your truth is an intensely personal thing. And examining that truth is always an inside job. And Science of Mind has provided us with an affirmation to make sure we don't run out of them. So here's another. Today I examine the contents and roots of my belief system. If certain beliefs don't honor me and the sacred truth I am of my being, I lovingly extract, discard, and replace them.
Thank you, John. This song is written by the brilliant storyteller, songwriter Dave Carter, and it's called Gentle Arms of Eden. On a sleepy endless ocean, when the world lay in a dream, there was rhythms in the splash and roll, but not a voice to sing. So the moon fell on the breakers, and the morning warmed the waves, till a single cell did jump and hum for joy, as though to say, this is my home, this is my only home, this is the only sacred ground that I have ever known. Should I stray in the dark night alone, rock me, goddess, in the gentle arms of Eden. Then the day shone bright around her, till the one turned into two, and the two into 10,000 things, and old things into new. And on some virgin beachhead, one lonesome critter crawled, and he looked about and shouted out his most astonished drawl, this is my home, this is my only home, this is the only sacred ground that I have ever known. And should I stray in the dark night alone, rock me, goddess, in the gentle arms of Eden. Then all the sky was buzzing and the ground was carpet green, and the weary children of the woods went dancing in between. And the people sang rejoicing when the fields were glad with grain, this song of celebration from their cities on the plain. This is my home, this is my only home, this is the only sacred ground that I have ever known. Should I stray in the dark night alone, rock me, goddess, in the gentle arms of Eden. across the harbor, and there's factories on the shore, and the world is ill with greed and will, an enterprise of war. But I will lay my burden in the cradle of your grace, and the shining beaches of your love, and the sea of your embrace. This is my home. This is my only home. This is the only sacred ground that I have ever known. And should I stray in the dark night long, rock me, goddess, in the gentle arms of Eden. This is my home. This is my only home. This is the only sacred ground that I have ever known. And should I stray in the dark night long, rock me, goddess, in the gentle arms of Eden. Rock me, goddess, in the gentle arms of Eden.
Thank you.
Oh, my only home. I love it. Thank you so much. Haven't we had a beautiful start to the morning? Oh my gosh. How many of you are here for the meditation this morning? Beautiful. Well done. I loved it. It was just magnificent. And our invocation. Thank you, Ruth. There you are. And our wonderful musicians, whom we've already honored in a simple way. Thank you, guys. You're wonderful. Oh, gosh. Yes. Cheryl's meditation, Mark and Susan's music, Ruth's invocation, John's reading. Yeah, we do have to choose, don't we? We have to make sure we're living from within and not from without. Just a pleasure to be here to share this time with you today. Makes me feel right at home. How about you? You feel right at home? I do. I think this is our spiritual home. And that's the topic for the month, really, is Everyday Wonder, home. And we're going to start today with the concept of home, and then we'll share some insights into what this home brings to us, or maybe already exists in our hearts as a place, as a reality. And then we'll look at what some call the hero's journey, which is our effort to expand our awareness from our home into the world and return again with our hearts intact and our spirits developed and filled. Let's look at the word home. When I was reading the Science of Mind magazine this month, on the very first page, there's a reading that kind of caught my eye as to what home might be. Home can be identified as a physical dwelling, but isn't it really much more? Don't you think it is? Our bodies are home, right? Our very own bodies. The miraculous temple that houses our consciousness and our automatic breathing and the beating hearts. That's a home. Our home is the planet we share, planet Earth. You've seen pictures of it from the space vehicles, right? It's beautiful, blue marble floating in space. Oh yes, it's wonderful. Yeah, it's a perfect place for our conditions for life to evolve. And home is indeed even the vast, mysterious, expansive expressingness of the universe itself, all the galaxies. And our technology, our new telescopes reveal the beauty, the magnificence, and the power that exists in this home in our universe. And you know something? I believe, and this is part of the reading, home is within us always. We'll expand on that some. So our home here today that we're celebrating is, at least in part, is our spiritual family. Right here, when our family comes together, we are at home. Oh, we are indeed. I love that first song that Mark and Susan sang and had us sing together. We are gathered together as a family, bound as one, lifting up our voices together. We sing of love, we sing of light, we sing of hope, faith, and life. I believe that home is where the heart is. Home is all about family. It's about relationship. Home is about love. Home is about being together. Now, we like to have homes, don't we? Has anyone else here bought a home in their life? Quite most all of us. I bet you have, Julie. I have more than one, as a matter of fact. You rent homes, right? A little personal. I remember my very first home. My wife and I bought a very humble home. We bought a single-wide mobile home located in a trailer park. That was our first home. That was many years ago. That was before mobile home parks emerged. They were called trailer parks back then. It was called Wheelbase Trailer Park. It was in Tualatin, in Oregon. It wasn't much to look at, but it served. It had 3 bedrooms and 1.5 baths, and we had our first child there. Yeah, we did. It was pretty comfortable that way. And later we moved it up to acreage. Yeah, and our family began there. What is an ideal home? I think each of us has a concept within our hearts of what might be an ideal home. Maybe it's comfortable and it's functional and located in a safe neighborhood. Maybe some of those things, right? Some of those. I was reading in the Science of Mind textbook, and Ernest Holmes, in his chapter on mental equivalence, says, let's see, everybody here is familiar with Ernest Holmes. Anybody not familiar with Ernest Holmes? We had one new person there. Ernest Holmes is the founder of the Science of Mind teaching and of this Centers for Spiritual Living. So we often quote from him. It's written a wonderful book called The Science of Mind and Spirit. Can everybody hear okay? We're good? Okay, good. So here's what he wrote. If we have the mental equivalent, if we have the idea, if we have the concept of a commodious home, roomy, light, cheery, and an income in keeping with it, if we are able to build in mind the kind of home we wish, and there's nothing in our subjective thought which denies this, then we shall be able to decide and demonstrate for ourselves the kind of home we desire. It's entirely possible. I've seen many people do it here in this chapel. Yet a home is much more than a place. It's much more than a building, even no matter how much we like it. I mean, surely, your family home may have been in your family for generations even, in some cases. And that's wonderful. That's wonderful. But I believe home is really the accumulated history, the flow of emotions, the ties of the heart that make a dwelling a home. I think of the various homes my wife and I have owned. It seems like we've owned several, yet the feelings and the activities and the reality of life all go with the home, or go with us into the new home. And that home becomes then our current expression of the home, right? Home is where your children are born. Home is where the youngest take their first step. Home is where we bring our special beings into life, whether it's like our pets, for example. Yeah. Now, for those who maybe haven't been married and all that, homes can simply be an amalgam of all of the finer expressions and joys in the places you've lived, okay? I don't know how many of you would share this. Home was a place where we would take our children out to t-ball or baseball or Little League. Home was a place where we went to dances and dancing lessons and swim lessons and developed the youngsters who were with us. Home was where we returned from vacations, right? Yeah, it was always kind of nice to get back home again, indeed. And home is where sometimes we returned from hospital stays. Yeah. It was such a relief to be home again, particularly when returning from the hospital. I kind of bring this up for 2 reasons this morning. First of all, speaking of hospital stays, some of you may remember Nancy, my first wife. She is in Salem Hospital with pneumonia and some various blood clots and things, and suffered a stroke Friday, but she seems to be coming out of it fine. They plan to move her from the ICU today into a more normal room. But I would invite you to put her into your prayer life, if you would, as Nancy. I know that she will be relieved when she returns home, hopefully very soon. And last time I spoke, was that last week? No, I can't remember. Last time I spoke, I talked to you about my wife, Vicki. She's much better than she was. We're really encouraged by this. And we thank you for your prayer treatments because they have been effective. In fact, we enjoyed dinner at La Hacienda Real last night, Vicki and I, with Jonica and David. And so she's getting out a little bit. And we did walk very slowly from the car to the restaurant and back. She with a cane in one hand and my hand or arm in her other hand. But we got there. And she just said, I just like getting out now. I don't get out very much. So this is really wonderful. Coming home in this kind of a context means becoming healthy and being well into recovery. I see home as a place where our most beloved live. Our life partner, our spouse, perhaps our children even still. Though I have been in, and I counted them up, I think I got most of them, 9 different physical homes in my life. Anybody else have a number of homes like that? 9? Yes? Some? And anybody just lived in one home the whole life? No? No one? Okay, so we all had multiple homes at one time. But still, no matter how many of these dwellings I've had, the different physical homes all come together with the memories and feelings that I've had in all of them. The continuity of consciousness that flows all together with all the many activities of a happy home. And it brings us to a coalesce into a strong mental pattern of a home. So I have a pretty good mental equivalent, pretty good idea, pretty good pattern of what a home is. And they're unique elements, of course, but through literature, psychology, and human experience, historians of thought and literary scholars have developed what they call the concept of an archetype. Is anybody familiar with the archetype and kind of how it works, what it means? It's an idea or a pattern that seems to be almost universal in the idea of human beings and the minds of human beings. Across the ages and cultures, we can say that home is where the heart is. Metaphorically, home is a place where we feel safe and familiar, knowing we belong there. The home archetype, the home idea, the home pattern includes so much goodness. Home can include also, though, for some, suffering and painful experiences. I have known a few who have described their home life as places of abuse and denigration, as unsupportive environments. Oof. Even so, these folks generally have a mental construct, a mental equivalent of a good home, and that's what they want for themselves and their children. They strive, and that might become even part of their life journey, a big part of their life journey, creating that. If we do have negative experiences from our home life, we don't have to project them into our current life. We can actually face them, understand them, and reconcile ourselves to working through the feelings that come with such things, but then move into the positive and strong awareness that the power of home is the power of love. Yes. We all know that in the science of mind, we believe that heaven is within us, and that we experience it to the degree we become conscious of it. Well, home kind of becomes a bit of heaven in terms of living your life, because that bit of heaven is always there, and as you reveal it to yourself, you become more conscious of it, it becomes more real to you. Now, before we discuss the hero part of our talk today, before we just discuss the hero's journey more in depth, I'd like to share a brief story I found to be humorous. I think it is, and I hope you do too. Now, does anybody here know the story of John and Mary, the bank robbers? Okay, good, because I didn't want anybody to blurt out the line at the end. You may have, I don't know if I've said this one before. John and his girlfriend Mary, no, not this John, no, not this John. John and his girlfriend Mary decided to become bank robbers. Mary does the actual robbing at gunpoint inside the banks, while John waits outside as the getaway driver. They are initially successful with a string of heists that make headlines, and they become folk heroes. One day, their luck runs out, and they get caught. At trial, the judge condemns Mary to 10 years in prison. She had the gun. While John gets 2 years. He drove the car. However, once they get to their respective prisons, they discover that due to a clerical error, John will be serving 10 years and Mary only 2. Terrible. Despite her insistence, John conveys Mary to keep quiet about it. He convinces her to keep quiet about it. After 2 years, Mary gets out and she continues to visit John faithfully every month, and they exchange letters and phone calls and for the rest of the 8 years, right? Finally, or the rest of the 10 years, finally, after he does his time, John gets out and is joyfully reunited with Mary. They get married and move to a different state and start anew, leaving their life of crime behind. They raise a family with children and grandchildren and eventually reach old age after having lived a happy marriage. On their 50th wedding anniversary party, the entire family and friends are gathered. A great celebration is had, with many laughs and stories recounting their life together. The conversation turns to the secrets of a happy marriage. One of the guests asked Mary why she decided to stick with John while he was in prison, despite all of the hardships. Mary answers, "Well, you know you found the one, you found your hero, when you finish each other's sentences." I thought that was kind of cute. It kind of speaks to our topic, too, of the hero's journey. We leave home, we do wonderful things, and we come back to home. Now, almost all of humanity, our journeys, whatever we do, begin at home, and we go out into the world and then return home. It's like an arc with 3 major segments. We have our departure, we have the initiation into what's going on in the world, and we have our return home. And that happens, it's a cycle. It happens in so many ways. I mean, you might have had your hero's journey, let's say, how about managing the mysteries of middle school and the interaction of all the girls there? Anybody had any of that sort of mystery in their life? Or maybe it's been going to high school and completing, get your degree and going into the military or tech school or college. Or maybe your journey has been to go to college and get a degree, right? Yeah. It could be so many different things, but these things happen in cycles, and that's the cycle of it. It's an arc with 3 major segments: departure, initiation, and return. Now, the general pattern of humanity's life stories forms another archetype. Joseph Campbell calls this pattern the hero's journey, a monomyth. By monomyth, he means it is so basic and so pervasive that it is found in nearly all human lives. It's also at the core of all the great myths of antiquity. First of all, let's take a look at the word hero. I don't think hero is really gender specific. It started out as referring to masculine, but I hear the word, she's my hero. I think it applies equally across any gender. But what's the hero? Well, one meaning is a mythological or legendary figure, often of divine descent, which is kind of interesting, endowed with great strength or ability. An illustrious warrior. Our veterans are heroes. A person admired for achievements and noble qualities, the heroes of the revolution. One who shows great courage, one who stands up and speaks the truth in the face of others who don't believe it. Now, perhaps you recall some of the mythological characters. Odysseus, who fought in the Trojan Wars for 10 years. Jason and the Argonauts and the Golden Fleece. Maybe you recall some of the monsters. You ever heard of the Gorgon? You haven't heard of the Gorgon? It was a mythological creature whose stare would turn people to stone. Have you heard of the Kraken? I heard yes. Okay. Let's see, who else? Oh, the Medusa? Have you heard of the Medusa? These are all out of these mythological stories. Now, these stories contain both real and imaginary elements, which cause people to think of myth as something commonly believed but untrue. For two of the great thinkers of the last century, who were Carl Jung and Joseph Campbell, myths represent our collective human psyche. They illuminate the universal principles and truths that apply to the entirety of the human family. You might not think of them as myths. The story of Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. How about Alice in Wonderland? or Mulan, or perhaps reflections of the great monomyth in people we really revere and hold as sacred. The stories of Jesus and Gautama Buddha and Moses. They follow the same basic pattern. All refer to the archetype of the hero's journey as described by Joseph Campbell in his book called The Hero with a Thousand Faces. For Campbell and Jung, the hero's journey, these expeditions out into the world and returning home, represent the process of psychological and spiritual transformation. From innocent child to mature, self-actualized adult. It's all part of growing up. It's all part of being alive and awake. Now, sometimes you do one of these hero journeys and you're not expecting it, right? For example, David Sisquante and Doran Smith, a man and a woman, a young couple on a honeymoon in Barcelona, were going off to a ecological tour of a big park. And as they were walking by, there was this building. There was smoke coming out of the building. There's a whole bunch of people out front, some ladies too, just very excited. And so they rushed into the building, not knowing what, I thought it was an apartment house maybe. What did they find? A room full of infants, a nursery, 20 babies. They gathered the babies up, they helped them get out and saved them. Then they went on to their tour. Yeah. Sometimes we're kind of spontaneously led into this hero's experience. Stephen Jones and Chris Parker, two homeless men, rushed into a Manchester stadium that had exploded, it had a gas explosion, and helped save lives. They prevented a woman from bleeding to death by raising her legs. They pulled shrapnel from wounds. This story played in England, and they're now being helped to regain a more normal lifestyle. Heroic moments can arise at most any time. But how is it that we can be the hero of our own lives? Why is that? Because each of us has the talent, the insight, and the strength to address our challenges and succeed in the great adventure we know as life. According to Campbell, a hero is someone who has given his or her life to something bigger than oneself. Bigger than oneself. So our life journeys lead us into a transformative and transcendent experience of who we are and how we get to that place in life where our home, what lives in our hearts, becomes the bit of heaven that exists for us, right? I don't know if any of you watched any of the Marvel movies at all, the hero movies. The one that caught my mind was Thor. He had the big hammer. Okay. Thor emerges. He's an old Nordic god and human god sort of person. And he leaves his place in Asgard and is thrown out of there, actually. And he comes down to Earth and defends Earth and defeats Thanos and goes on to find love in life. Okay? Now, sometimes there's an initial reluctance to answer the call. And usually it's overcome with the guidance of a mentor or someone who inspires us. In the final showdown, the person within, who starts as the innocent child, shall we say, and goes through these life experiences, these initiations of challenge that face all of us in various degrees at various times, as a person goes through that, then there emerges a different person, or a person with more awareness of their rootedness in the ability to respond that comes from knowing their place, knowing who they are and what they are, knowing that they are divine in origin, that they are strong and inspired by the power and joy and energy of life itself. So, how does this insight benefit us today? We see that the person who returns on these journeys is not the same person who left. We see these journeys as our path to spiritual maturity. We see that the challenge we face, it's like the title of the book, What's in the Way is the Way. I don't know if you've heard of that book, but it's the same message, that what we actually face, what we go through, is what allows us to develop as spiritual human beings. That's the truth of life. That's the truth and energy of life itself. So, a hero basically serves themselves, yes, but they're actually serving others. They're giving their gifts over to do something good for other people. Now, one of the things, it might be a life work, a profession, a ministry, or volunteering in a community endeavor, perhaps. It could be a lot of different things. But whatever it is, the hero in our own lives comes to be spiritually mature by bringing the small self to alignment with the work of the higher self, the large self, capital self. I think of those who volunteer at our center. Each of them takes on a higher purpose. We're here to help one another, to grow and be spiritual and to be with one another as a family. We're here to help our community grow. We serve very human needs, don't we? We cook, we clean, we serve, we lead, we lend. We have craft days together, like we did this yesterday, which was a lot of fun. We give of our time, our talent, and our treasure. Now, none of us would be here were it not for the combined efforts of those who've come before us. The building, the grounds, our science of mind principles. All of this found life in the hearts and minds of individuals who, like us, had decided to serve their higher power. They took steps to develop and change themselves and their community. Now, it's our turn to act. It's our turn. Yeah, it really is. If we want to mature as spiritual adults, we too will look to the higher purposes that stand before us today. We will jump into the life of our center. We'll embody the spirit of activism. Everything that happens here happens because someone has stepped up to embody the spiritual vision of who they are and what our center is. We exist as a community at the junction of personal aspiration and community life. So, I urge you to volunteer here. And specifically, I'd like to urge you to take advantage of something we'll be doing in 2 weeks on Sunday, which is our community visioning. Because at this point, we're going to conceptualize, catch the vision of Spirit as it wants to express as Woodland Chapel in our hearts and in our lives, as it wants to express. So we will discover each in our own way and collectively Spirit's highest vision for our center. To grow in spirit and to grow in number. Perhaps our new motto will emerge. I don't know what will come out exactly, but maybe it'll simply be, we grow. How does that sound as an affirmation? We grow in our attendance and in our participation and in our life. I believe this ability to vision together will find inspiration and bring inspiration to us that will keep us powerfully alive. There is so much good here. There's so much love. There's so much joy that lives and breathes in our hearts. This is an opportunity to embrace the visioning process and see where it leads. Let's come together to find that higher purpose and make that vision become even more real right here in our community. For me, I feel the heat. I see the light. This vision will spark a flame of energy and joy that will brighten our minds, all of our minds, lift our hearts, and help us become the best we have yet to be. That's the vision that I bring to our visioning process. We spent our time this morning discussing the meaning of home and the hero's journey. I believe we have ample evidence that Woodland Chapel is the home of our spiritual family. If you're not a member, become one. I know our home is imbued and drenched in the highest spiritual intention. It lives in embodiment of the deepest unconditional love. It is a welcoming place for people of all spiritual traditions. It's a place where each person is respected. Let it be our home today and for the holidays. This is our message for this morning. Let's make it real for our lives. Namaste. Thank you. Susan and Mark, take it away.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'd like you all to join us singing this song. There's no place like home for the holidays. The words are in your bulletin. Oh, there's no place like home. 'cause no matter how far away you roam, when you pine for the sunshine of a friendly gaze, for the holidays you can beat home sweet home. Oh, there's no place like home for the holidays, 'cause no matter how far away you roam, if you want to be happy in a million ways, for the holidays you can beat home sweet home. Oh, there's no place like home for the holidays, 'cause no matter how far away you roam, when you pine for the sunshine of a friendly gaze, for the holidays you can beat home sweet home. Oh, there's no place like home for the holidays, 'cause no matter how far away you roam, if you want to be happy in a million ways, for the holidays you can beat home sweet home. For the holidays, for the holidays you can beat home sweet home. One more time. For the holidays you can beat home sweet home. Yeah, you can beat home sweet home. Good job.
And don't forget, we have Thanksgiving dinner here at 2 o'clock on Thanksgiving Day, for those who might like to join us. It would be wonderful. At this time in our service, did you want to introduce the offering? Oh, go ahead. If you haven't guessed, it's time for the collection. And it's in the program. You know, we give in so many different ways here. I saw it yesterday in the joy of on the faces of those who are doing the crafts together. Got a few pictures, maybe we'll see some of those later. And there's just so many ways in which we circulate this awareness that this is our spiritual home. This is where we can come and feel welcome. This is where we can come and participate in prayer and energy and life, where we can do things together that are fun to do and that are excellent for our feelings of health and well-being. So at this time, I invite you to take whatever gift you might have in terms of a check or money or whatever that will help keep our lights on and heat on. And let's repeat together our offering. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate, and so it is.
So blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed, I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
The feeling of blessing arises in our hearts as we realize the joy and the energy that stems from our connection with the infinite love of God that lives in us, that is that piece of heaven, that is our true spiritual home. The infinite beingness of this universe and all that it means is home to us, for each of us is a blessed being living a life of love. This is the truth, and let us declare it by saying together, and so it is.
And so together, let us say our prayer of protection, which is in our bulletin, and I love these words. Together, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And so let's stand together and
let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Walk the hero's journey with love in your heart.
I'm gonna move to the light, I'm gonna speak of the light, I'm gonna sing with the light, I'm gonna dance in the light. When I choose to remember that Spirit is all, I rejoice and give praise and shine in the light. I'm gonna move to the light, I'm gonna speak of the light, I'm gonna sing with the light, I'm gonna dance in the light. When I choose to remember that Spirit is all, I rejoice and give praise and shine in the light. When I choose to remember that Spirit is all, I rejoice and give praise. And I shine in the light, yeah. Shine in the light, oh, shine in the light, shine.
Where's Auntie Michelle?
Thank you, Aaron.
He does not want to sit still. Mixed feelings.
Hello.
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 It's just the end of the year, or you're not?
Just the end of Yeah, us too.
All of December you're going to be here?
Yeah, I'm doing I'm on a time event. Starts November 30th and goes through the 7th for 18 hours a day.
What was it, man?